right, welcome. ZASLOW Show 2.0. It's a Monday, the 13th of February. Good to have you aboard. What a weekend. Obviously, we got a ton to get to today. The Super Bowl taking center stage. Fantastic game that, of course, typical of this NFL season, was mired in controversy to finish the game. 2 straight weeks there for the Chiefs. You got complaining about officiating. That's a shame that that's the major story, it seems, from yesterday's Super Bowl 57. But obviously, that's what we're going to talk. We're going to talk quite a bit about that. But overall, you had a great game. I had a great weekend. I hope everyone had a fun little Super Bowl party, whatever you had going on. ZASLOW Show 2.0, always presented by Anidjar and Levine. Accident attorneys, if you're involved in an accident, whatever it is, car, boat, motorcycle, slip and fall. If you're dealing with a personal injury, let Anidjar and Levine take care of you. 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. If you're in an accident, you call 911 first, then you get an attorney on the phone right away. Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys, 800-747-FREE. We, of course, are a Blue Wire podcast. We love being a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. Make sure, however you're listening to the show today, you like, you rate, you comment, you do all that good stuff. It's for the algorithm, and then I get all the monies. I don't know how they do that, but that's how it works out. So make sure you do that. All right. So we got Super Bowl. We're going to spend most of the show talking about the Super Bowl, of course. We're going to do a ton of reaction there. Make sure you hit me up as well on the Twitter machine, at ZASLOW Show. That Twitter sucks now, but hey, we still got to use it. Elon Musk ruined it. You saw him there at the Super Bowl yesterday. And of course, you can hit me up on Instagram where I'm an influencer, at ZASLOWJ. So we got the Super Bowl. We got our NBA rundown, which now that the NFL's over, every Monday we got the NFL rundown, an NBA rundown, full NBA rundown, which is brought to us by our pals at Brunt Insurance. We'll get to that coming up. That, of course, includes a couple of Heat victories over the weekend. A couple wins against bad teams, although Orlando's playing much better. Very close wins. The Heat, they give you a heart attack, all right, every game. But they came away with a couple wins over the weekend. And otherwise, you got the Panthers. The Panthers, they lost over the weekend as well on Saturday to the Colorado Avalanche. Very tough game there. They lost that one 5-3. They're both back in action tonight. We got our stories, which are back tonight. WWE Monday Night Raw. We'll get to that coming up later. Before we get to the Super Bowl, I do want to tell you, I had a nice weekend. My son's soccer team, Western Select U14 boys, they drew a tie this weekend, second straight week. They tied this weekend 1-1 against a team from, I believe they were from Boynton. So that was disappointing. It just goes to show you, soccer's funny like that, where the week before the season opener this spring season, they drew a tie, felt like a win. This week, drew a tie, felt like a loss. That's how soccer goes. They did not play well this weekend. They were a lot better than that team they were facing. They gave up a goal in the second half, which tied the game. They only scored once. That's not acceptable, of course. So disappointing on that front, all right? But my son now, our thing, man, and especially now since football season's going to be over, I love that my older son, he's way into going to movies. So we're seeing movies like every weekend. We watched 2 movies this weekend. One at home, one in the theater. I'll tell you real quick here about the one we saw at home. You know, one of the things that you love about the streaming services now, a lot of times Prime will show a movie. You could order the movie to rent or to buy. You just rent it, who cares? You could rent or buy the movie at home while it's still in the theaters. So I look at the price to rent it, and it's $19.99, and I'm like, okay, we would be paying that to go to the theater. Let's watch it right here. And the movie was Megan. Now, I told you, I wanted to see this movie, Megan. I've been waiting to see it. So did my son, all right? It's like new Chucky, all right? Maybe I should do a poll. Who's scarier, Megan or Chucky? Like, Megan is smart, but Chucky he's evil. All right, anyway. So, yeah, Megan, it's that doll which it protects the child, but protects the child at all costs. It has artificial intelligence, and it winds up becoming very violent and will protect the child at all costs and ends up killing people, all right? Megan. And it's made by it's made by the guy who did the original Saw movies, James Wan. So I think you could trust it a little bit. And we liked that movie. That was wild, man. So we watched Megan this weekend at home. That was pretty cool. And then we saw a great movie in the theater yesterday morning, like a noon movie. All right, so afternoon, whatever. We saw yesterday in the theaters the movie Missing. Now, Missing doesn't really have any big actors other than the mother is played by Nia Long. I mean, she is fine. We love Nia Long on this show. I mean, Ime Udoka, what's the matter with you cheating on her? So Nia Long starred in this movie, and it's about this girl, this young girl. She's 18 years old, and her mother and her mother's boyfriend, they go on vacation, and then they go missing. That's why the movie's called Missing. And then she's almost like figuring out the crime, figuring out what happened, where her mother is her mother alive? What happened? Is it a con? Does her mother have a checkered past? What the hell's going on here? The movie was really good. The end, great twist in the end. Super entertaining movie. You're thinking, you're guessing the whole time. And how about this? The entire movie is the entire movie. You're seeing it through the lens of computer video. Let me see if I can explain that properly. The girl is all over technology and everything, FaceTime, WhatsApp, that kind of stuff. And you're watching the whole movie through a reflection on her computer screen. You're watching through her computer screen, the video, because she's always on the FaceTime and that kind of stuff. Or you're watching, the footage on like the Apple Watch or on someone's iPhone. It's not found footage, like the Cloverfield movie. Not like that. Almost the entire movie you're watching through video on a computer, laptop. And that was obviously very different. I thought it was really well done. You're not going to get nauseous. It's not like bouncing around. I think you're watching on a laptop, I thought it was really different and really cool. The movie was smart. It kept you guessing the whole time. You did not know the direction it was going in. You definitely did not know the end. Really good twist. I recommend that movie, Missing. It's not going to be in the theaters for much longer. It had been out for a while, so whenever it comes out on the streaming service, you can check that out. That's a good movie. We really, really like the movie Missing. And I'm very much looking forward to this week. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania comes out. Obviously, me and my younger son, we're seeing it right away Thursday afternoon, the day before it comes out. Thursday afternoon, we're going to see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So I'll have a full preview for you on Friday's show. It might be time to bring back Big Movie or Not a Big Movie this week now that the football season is done. We'll see. I don't know. I can't predict the future. We'll get to that. So that's what I had going on this weekend. I like starting the show every day, or especially, on a Monday after the weekend. I like telling you about the movies that I saw over the weekend. Otherwise, any shows that I'm watching? No. Like, I finished season 1 of Alice in Borderland, but I finished that last week. Show's good. I don't think it's great. It's good. I'm going to watch season 2. It's good. But anyway, so that's what I got going on there. All right. Let's get to the main event here. The main course today, today's show, of course, is the Super Bowl. Yeah, well, why did I forget the name of Super Bowl? There's so much to get to. We got to talk about the game. We got to talk about the commercials. And we got to talk about Riri. Oh, my God, I love her. All right, we got to talk about Rihanna with the halftime. We'll get to that. But first of all, as far as the game goes, look, ton of controversy. There were 3 things that are going to be talked about ad nauseum over really 2 things, but for me it's 3 over the next couple days when it comes to Super Bowl. And it's things that you don't want. If you're the NFL, it's things you don't want the media and the fans to be talking about. You want them to only talk about the game, especially when the game was so good. And by the way, think about it. If you're my age, I'm 42 years old. If you're my age, man, we grew up in a time where the Super Bowl every year was shit. Terrible games. You would have like 49ers Broncos, 55-10. You would have Redskins. I could say that because that's what they were called. You could have Redskins and Bills, blowout. Cowboys and Bills 2 years in a row, blowout. You would have some terrible games. And now, every year it seems, every year you get great games with the Super Bowl. It was not like this When I was growing up, the Super Bowl, it was more about the Super Bowl party, everybody getting together, watching the commercials, because the game's going to suck. But now, more often than not, the game is really good. So the Chiefs' second Super Bowl win in 4 years, third Super Bowl appearance in 4 years. This was a huge, now, you look at the two teams here, all right? This was huge for Patrick Mahomes because, and we'll get to the Eagles, all right? And Jalen Hurts, what a performance. Man, can you imagine? They felt the same way. To put into a little bit of local perspective, the Eagles essentially, going into this season, felt the same way or had the same doubts about Jalen Hurts as the Dolphins and the Dolphin fan did about Tua Tagovailoa. It's virtually the same thing. They weren't sure about their guy. And both quarterbacks, at least for a time, MVP caliber seasons. I thought Jalen Hurts was MVP of the league. And then Hurts has a phenomenal Super Bowl. They felt the same way about Hurts going into the season as we and the Dolphins did about Tua. And look at the season that he put together, man. Really impressive. I felt bad for Hurts. He certainly was great enough to win that game, but you're going against Mahomes. You're going against what now is an all-time great. Now, see, Mahomes became a made man last night. He is now in the pantheon of all-time great quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes. Oh, ZASLOW, what are you talking about? What, he was already in that group. No, he wasn't. If you win multiple Super Bowls, and he's also got multiple Super Bowl MVPs, and he's got multiple league MVPs, and I think he became the first quarterback ever, or first player ever, to win league MVP and the Super Bowl MVP in the same season. He is now officially a made man. He is in the pantheon of all-time great quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes. That's what last night did for him. Because there is a major difference in winning a Super Bowl and winning multiple Super Bowls when you're a quarterback. Now, as a coach, I don't think there's a difference. Andy Reid's already a made guy. Would it have been a bad look if Reid dropped to 1-3 overall in the Super Bowl? Yeah, it wouldn't have been a good look. But as a coach, you think about, there's a ton of great coaches out there who've only won one Super Bowl. Do you think any different of them? I mean, you look at Tom Coughlin. He won one Super Bowl, right? With the Giants. He wasn't the coach of the team that the second one, was he? I don't believe so. There are plenty of coaches out there who've won just one Super Bowl. Harbaugh, he's won just one Super Bowl. Like, are you going to feel any different about Harbaugh if he wins a second one? No, he's a Super Bowl winning coach, all right? There are plenty of coaches out. Bill Parcells. Now, Bill Parcells won two, right? Yeah, late 80s and then the very beginning of the 90s. So he's not a good example. I'm having a tough time off the top of my head. All right, let's be honest here. But if you're a coach and you win a Super Bowl, you're a made guy. You don't need to win multiple. If you're a quarterback and you're going to be considered an all-time great quarterback, you need to win multiple. We think of there are guys like, Brady's a tough example because he's won 7, but there are quarterbacks out there who have won multiple Super Bowls that you have ahead of guys like Breeze. Breeze is an all-time great quarterback, right? But he won just one Super Bowl, so you don't have him on the level as, obviously guys like Brady, guys like Peyton Manning. He's not like that. Roethlisberger. Winning multiple Super Bowls puts you in a different category. Take Aaron Rodgers for that matter. Aaron Rodgers, look, he won a Super Bowl. But Aaron Rodgers now gets a lot of criticism because it's pretty likely that Rodgers is going to finish his career one day having won just one Super Bowl. And he's too good to have won just one Super Bowl, right? He's likely going to end his career having won just one Super Bowl. Elway with the multiple Super Bowls. Montana with the multiple Super Bowls. We think about these guys. Aikman. Now, Aikman's not on the level of those guys, but he won 3 Super Bowls. We don't think of guys like Breeze on the level of those guys because he only won one Super Bowl. It helped, it solidified his legacy, but he's not on the level of those guys. And you know what? Aaron Rodgers is not going to be on the level of those guys because he's only going to win one Super Bowl. Only went to one Super Bowl. Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers won very early on in his career. He's never going to win again. That could have been the scenario for Mahomes. He won in his second year, first year as a starting quarterback, right? And then he never wins again. He could, statistically, he could be unbelievable. He's not going to be on the level of those guys I just mentioned. Brady, Manning, Montana, Elway. Don't give me that Manning, the second one that he won, the Broncos, the defense, the running game carried him. No, it doesn't work like that. He won 2. Went to 4, won 2. Doesn't work like that. Mahomes winning multiple Super Bowls. And now certainly you look like it, 2 Super Bowls in 4 seasons, 2 in 5 years of his career. He's going to continue winning. Like, this is the guy, I don't think he's going to catch Brady because Brady's got 7, but this is the guy who could wind up catching Brady, right? He's got 2. He's only been in the league for 5 years. He's the best quarterback in the league. He's probably one of the best quarterbacks ever. That's the guy who, if anyone, could maybe catch Brady. He's the guy. But winning that second one, he's in a different class now. He's in the pantheon of all-time great quarterbacks. He officially became a made man now, winning multiple Super Bowls. That win last night was so much more important for Mahomes than it was Andy Reid. Andy Reid's made no matter what. He won that Super Bowl. Coaches only got to win 1 to solidify themselves as an all-time great coach. Quarterbacks, the all-time great quarterbacks, guys like Mahomes, you got to win multiple. That's why it's very important for Manning to win that second one at the end. And that's why it would have been important or would be important for Rodgers, even though it's not going to happen. Winning that second one's enormous for Mahomes. So that's that's the number one story, is Mahomes. He's the major star from last night. But there are 3 things that are going to hang over this game as far as I'm concerned. We'll get to that in a second here. So the first half, I had the Eagles all week. I had the Eagles -1.5. I didn't win any of my bets, by the way. We had 3 bets. I had Eagles -1.5. That was looking good for most of the game. Had Devontae Smith to +175 to score a touchdown. How about when the Eagles set up that touchdown to tie it? Devontae Smith, my son and I, we both jumped off the couch. Oh, here it is. It's going to happen. He's going to get it. He's going to score. And wide open, falls out of bounds like that Brandon Marshall did for the Dolphins. You all thought of Brandon Marshall when that happened, right? Just falling out of bounds for no reason. That happened with Devontae Smith. Just falls out at the 2-yard line. Oh, a killer. And we also had Mahomes passing and rushing yards over 317.5, and he had 226. So that fell very short. What are we talking there? 91 yards short, I think it was. Yeah, so lost all 3 bets. Whatever. What are you going to do? Although we'll get to Rihanna, because we gave out, me and Trista Crick gave some good advice there on Rihanna and the Super Bowl plays on Friday last week. We'll get to that. But the Eagles dominate the first half. The Chiefs dominate the second half. The Eagles look like they're done, man. By the way, I thought at this point, going into halftime, for me, biggest play of the game. So it's 4th down at it was like the 40-yard line, the Chiefs 40. 4th and 5, and the Eagles are going to go for it here. We were tied at 14. There was 5 minutes left. This, to me, I thought we were going to look back at this play as the biggest play of the game. 4th and 5, about midfield, 5 minutes left. If the Eagles don't pick this up, the Chiefs now, in a game that the Eagles have dominated, and the only reason it's not 14-7 is because Hurts wasn't even touched. Well, he was touched, but he fumbled it on his own. And then you got Nick Bolton, who picks it up and runs it into the end zone. Tie game at 14. This is a game the Eagles were dominating. If the Eagles don't pick up this 4th down here, the Chiefs are going to have the ball at midfield with 5 minutes left. They could wind up scoring here, last possession essentially, and they get the ball to start the third quarter. So in a game that the Eagles have dominated, the Chiefs can go into the half with all the momentum, and they get the football with a chance to add on to a lead. This is a monster play. So the Eagles, they pick up 4th and 5. You had a huge run from Jalen Hurts, and they wind up scoring a touchdown there, and they wind up stopping the Chiefs and getting a field goal at the very end of the half. So it's 24-14 now, Eagles at halftime. I thought that sequence right there was going to be the sequence that we look back on and said, that's why the Eagles won, that 4th and 5 right there. Instead of the Chiefs going ahead at halftime and getting the ball, the Eagles were up by 10 at halftime. Major, major sequence. I thought that was the biggest moments of the game. But anyway, the Chiefs, ultimately, the 2 biggest plays of the game were not from the offense. I know you say, hey, Mahomes, he had the huge run to set up that field goal late. Yes, of course. And Mahomes, the high ankle sprain, he's hobbling out there, got hurt again during the game. Amazing, amazing. But the 2 biggest plays did not come from the Chiefs offense. It was that touchdown, which kept the Chiefs in the game, the Nick Bolton scoop and score, which made it 14-14, defensive score for the Chiefs, and Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney with the punt return at 27-21. Monster punt. You know, there's never been a punt return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. He almost scores. He takes it all the way to the 5. It was like a 50-plus yard punt return. Tremendous return. And they wind up scoring there to take the lead 28-27, the Chiefs. Their first lead of the game coming there in the 4th quarter. 2 biggest plays of the game came from the Chiefs defense and the Chiefs special teams. That's why they won the game. Those 2 plays right there. Amazing. Amazing. And the Eagles defense and special teams did not make any plays like that. There's only 1 turnover in the game, and it was that scoop and score there from Nick Bolton. Those were the 2 biggest plays. The Chiefs would wind up scoring again after that. It's 35-27. And then here, you give it a listen. This is the Eagles radio. The great legendary Merrill Reese on the call as the Eagles tie it, and they get the 2-point conversion.
Up. They push. They sneak. And they're in for the touchdown. No, let's say yes.
They are.
Hurts is going to run. He rolls, and he is in for the touchdown, and we're tied. We are tied.
Extra point good.
Yep.
Going in for 2.
Yep. He takes it in for 2.
What a gutsy call. That 2-point conversion. What a gutsy call. And it did not look like he was going to get in. I mean, the Chiefs, look, he had the blockers there, yes, but the Chiefs were there. You just got to make the play, and Hurts snuck in. Tremendous, man. So 35 all late in the game. We know what wound up happening. You get the holding call, which we'll get to. Well, I don't know, we have to get to it. We may as well get to it now. So you get the holding call, which if not for that call is 3rd down. We know going into that 3rd down, if they pick it up, the game's over. They're going to be able to run the clock all the way down because the Eagles only have 2 timeouts left. Or maybe they even have just 1 at that point. You get the holding call. I'm glad Greg Olsen was all over it. Greg Olsen did not hold back. That's a chintzy call. Very chintzy. And do I need Mike Pereira popping in and defending the officials at every chance he gets? No. No one wants to hear it. I don't know. I don't know that I don't know that I love the official who pops in on the game. I don't know. They're always on the official side. I don't know. I feel like I could see what's going on with my, rules interpretation, that kind of stuff. I don't know. I just don't love. I don't love Pereira chiming in. I don't know. Anyway, so you get the holding call there, and I'm not normally one of those guys who is all, you can't, a call at the end of the game is not the same as the call in the beginning of the game. I'm normally of the mindset, penalty's penalty. But I do think that there are times where the officials need to not be robots and need to read the room a little bit and need to understand circumstance. Juju Smith-Schuster, Pat Mahomes may have been calling for a flag. Smith-Schuster was not calling for a flag. He didn't seem bothered by the hold. He did not even flinch. He was not begging for a call whatsoever. And let me ask this. If no call was made there, and the Chiefs are likely going to kick a field goal right after that and take the lead, if a holding call is not made there, or whatever the outcome of the game was, are we talking about it today? Wow, there should have been a hold there? No, no one's saying that. And if that's the case, I would much rather the officials not decide the game there. It was an amazing game that now one of the 3 bad things from yesterday's game, which is going to be talked about over the next 48 hours, one of those 3 bad things that I told you about is the holding call. If it wasn't called, no one is talking about the no call, but everyone's talking about the call. It was so chintzy. And I know that James Bradbury, so this obviously took some heat off the officials after the game Because here's James Bradbury.
Like he's pulling on it enough for that call at that time.
I mean, that's not up for my judgment. I was hoping he would let it go, but of course, he's a ref. It's a big game, and it was a hold, so they called it.
So that definitely takes some heat off the officials. He's telling you there, I held him. Now, watching the play, it's not even one of those where you could call that in the beginning of the game, you can't call that at the end of the game. I originally thought you can't call that at any point in the game. Like, Bradbury may have held him, but it didn't look to me like it mattered. I know the ball was overthrown, but it's not pass interference. On pass interference, you could do all uncatchable. That's not how holding works. Holding's holding. It doesn't matter if the ball was uncatchable. I originally thought that's not a call that you can make at any point in the game. And I guess that's a good job out of Bradbury being honest there, but that doesn't mean that should have been called in that spot. I think the officials have to not be robots and understand the circumstances and let the game... See, and here's the thing. I don't think the Eagles got screwed. Because, hey, Bradbury's telling you there, it's a foul. It's a penalty. So if it's a penalty and the officials call it, you can't say that the Eagles got screwed. Do I wish that the call wasn't made? Of course I wish it wasn't made. Because I don't think the Eagles got screwed. I think the fans got screwed. Fans got screwed in that spot. It was going to be a 3-point game with a minute and a half left. Jalen Hurts legacy drive. Jalen Hurts has had an amazing game. Can you now win the Super Bowl? Instead, he got the ball back with 8 seconds. And then you get the bullshit. Kneeling, falling down at the 2, Andy Reid standing there and, waiting for the clock to tick down, timeout. That's not how you wanted the Super Bowl to end. And it didn't need to end like that. I don't think the Eagles got screwed. Because if it's a hold, I don't want it to be called in that spot, but if it's a hold, it's a hold. So I don't think the Eagles got screwed. I think it was poor judgment by the referees, but I don't think the Eagles got screwed. I think the fans got screwed. We got screwed from being able to see a potential Jalen Hurts legacy drive. Instead of a foul, the clock running down, kneeling, and then a field goal being the end of the game. You could have saw either Hurts marches down the field or the Chiefs defense stops him. That's how you end a classic Super Bowl. The fans are the ones that got screwed. So let's keep it going here. The Chiefs take the lead. And let's get to... Here, first, let me give you the Chiefs' final call. No, I'm sorry. Not before the final call, I'm sorry. Let me give you the Chiefs' game-winning field goal here. And then we'll get to the final call.
For the lead. Butker up. Got it. The Chiefs 8 seconds away.
So that was Kevin Burkhardt and Fox there with the Chiefs game-winning field. Kevin Burkhardt was very good. Let me say something here about Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olsen. Very good number one team, young number one team, a team that can grow together and be great for the next 20, 25 years. Like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. A team that can grow together, except not next season, but the season after, they're going to take Greg Olsen out and throw Tom Brady in. Big mistake. I don't get it. I understand bringing Brady aboard, but given all of that money, it's like $300 million, right, that they're giving him. And I get it where it's not even so much about him being on the game broadcast. It's about him being able to represent Fox and the sponsors you're going to bring in because it's Brady. I get that part, but he shouldn't be on the number one team if Greg Olsen is already great. It's not likely that Brady, with zero experience, is going to be better than Greg Olsen. And they're going to take Greg Olsen off the number one team in 2 seasons and put Tom Brady with zero experience there. It's such a mistake. No one is listening. No one is watching or not watching because of the broadcasters. I told you this a million times, especially on television. Now on radio, you hear Jimmy Cephalo on the call. You got it. You put on the other feed. Like if you're listening on Sirius XM and you can listen to the home or the away feed, and you got Cephalo, he doesn't give you the game. So then you're gonna change. Radio is a different story. On television, it doesn't matter. You're watching the game. If the announcers are really good as well, that's a bonus. But you're watching the game. It doesn't. They got time to change their mind, I guess. It does not make sense taking Greg Olsen off that broadcast and moving him down for Brady with zero experience. Greg Olsen's good. He's really good. And Kevin Burkhardt's really good also. It doesn't make sense. So anyway, let's get to the final call here. You got the kickoff. You get to like the 35s, like the 40-yard line. And boy, Jalen Hurts, I didn't get it, man. Jalen Hurts threw up a duck of a final pass in that Hail Mary. He couldn't even get to the 20. He threw the ball like 35, maybe 40 yards. That's it. I mean, what a duck Jalen Hurts put out there. Here's the final call.
36-yard line of Philly. Shotgun snap to Hurts. Dropping back. Only one person rushing. Hurts looking, standing still, winding up. Long pass. It lands at the 20. No one is there. Zeros on the clock. It's over. It's over. The Chiefs have won. The Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57 on a game-winning field goal. Trailing at 10 at the halftime stop, 24-14. They go on to win 38-35. What a game.
So, there it is. Kevin Harlan, Westwood One final call. He's obviously the best, and the Chiefs, they are your Super Bowl champions. Patrick Mahomes, he is now in the pantheon of all-time great quarterbacks. He's got multiple Super Bowl wins. It's very likely that he will get more Super Bowl wins, as he's only been in the league for 5 years now. Incredible. Great game that was mired with controversy. You already heard James Bradbury afterward. Good job out of him. Look, he told you he's being truthful there. Most guys are not going to do that. Most guys are going to give you, it's not my call. It's up to the officials to make that call. They thought it was a hold. No, he told you, he's like, I held him. I was hoping to get away with it. And I spoke my piece about it. If you don't make that call there, no one is complaining. You do make the call there, and it's something that is going to hang over this game forever. Very disappointing that that's how the game wound up ending. With a controversial hold, with a player getting down at the 2-yard line to waste time, with kneel downs, and then Andy Reid waiting and calling timeout with 8 seconds remaining. A very disappointing finish to a classic game. Can a game still be a classic if the ending sucks? Classic game. Give Travis Kelce, man. Travis Kelce. First, let me say this. For the second time in a row, he did this in the AFC Championship. He did it now at the Super Bowl. This idea that Patrick Mahomes is there. He's giving an interview on the field after the game, and Kelce comes running in. Nobody thought we were going to win. Everyone was against us. Travis, you're the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody knows how great you are. Everybody did not think you were going to lose. And matter of fact, the only reason that the Eagles were a 1 or a 1.5 point favorite was because your quarterback, who's an all-time great, was banged up and you don't really know his health status. The whole world is not against Travis. The whole world is not against you. Take it easy, all right? And it happened last week, too, when Orlando Brown came in and interrupted or 2 weeks ago, came in and interrupted Patrick Mahomes' AFC Championship celebration interview, where give this man his respect, put some respect on his name. Orlando, there's not a single person out there who doesn't think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the game and one of the all-time greats. Nobody needs to put respect on his name. Everybody knows. The whole world's not against the Chiefs. All right, give me a break. But here's Travis Kelce on the podium after the game. I dug this. Very emotional and reflective.
I feel like this was the happiest year of my life, man. And both off the field, on the field, to see my family be in all its glories, get all the flowers. My mom be the center of attention on the Jumbotron before the game, on the biggest stage. Being able to get closer with my brother throughout the season. And then meet him at the mountaintop. It's the best feeling in the world, man. And I'll tell you what. I don't know how many I got left, but I'm sure going to cherish it.
It was almost forever. Like, as great as he felt, as elated as he was for the win, he was just as heartbroken for his brother, you know? I love how they got closer together and then they wound up meeting in the Super Bowl. I felt really sad for Jason Kelce afterward, hugging his mom on the field. And like Kelce was like he was kind of wandering aimlessly on the field, and then he found his mother, and so he was, and it was almost like he was relieved to find his mom so that he could put his head on her shoulders. I thought it was really nice, and I enjoyed seeing that side of Travis Kelce after the game. There are three overriding negative stories from this game. I already gave you the first, that was the holding call. The second were the field conditions. The NFL have been preparing this field for 2 years. Now, we know the way it works there in Arizona. They can slide the field out and they slide it back in so when it gets sun, it goes back in. It's really cool how they do that there. They'd been preparing this field for 2 years for the Super Bowl, and that's the shit we got last night? Here's Hassan Reddick after the game.
Y'all watched the same game, Y'all watched the game we played. Y'all saw it. It's a lot of slipping all over that field. Like, it didn't even matter. I changed my cleats, still had 7 studs, and it still was slipping. So, I don't know. I don't want to use it as an excuse, make it seem like it's, I'm not that type of guy. I'm not going to make no excuses. Still props to them. They won. They champs. They should enjoy it. We got next year. I still believe in this team, and everybody on the staff roster will be back.
Comparatively, was it the slipperiest field you've ever played on?
Oh, most definitely. I'm not going to lie. It was the worst field I ever played on.
I mean, it was a story right from the get-go. Hassan Reddick's telling you that it's the Super Bowl, and it's the worst field he's ever played on. That's a disaster for the NFL. Early in the game, you already saw this was very bad. So that's 2 of the 3 bad things that were riding over this game. The field conditions and the controversial holding call. The third and final bad thing that was riding over this game, you know what it was? It started in pregame. It was all day. It started 5 hours before the game. The audio. Fox. What a disgrace. It started with the pregame. The audio was horrendous. And it's one of those, you turn it on, and it's like a poorly dubbed Japanese movie. You'll put on the game, Erin Andrews is talking, but the words that are supposed to be coming out of her mouth, it's off by 1.5 seconds. And then you go to the studio panel, and the words are off. It's unwatchable. And the commercials were bad, too. At one point, the commercials were okay, and then the commercials were bad. And this is one of those deals where it was at the start of the pregame, and you're, oh man, is it my TV? But then you change the channel, like, oh no, this channel's okay. It's clearly Fox. And then you go onto social media, and everyone had this problem. It was Fox. Fox, 5 hours before kickoff, couldn't figure out this issue. And by the way, hey, maybe this was the plan, because it's a thing going into halftime, and yesterday was Rihanna, and oh, I love her so. She is fine. Maybe going into halftime, they're like, hey, everyone always wants to say that the halftime performance was lip sync. We had no idea if Rihanna was lip syncing. Not a clue. Because the audio was so bad, the timing was so off, we have no idea if Rihanna was lip syncing. Not a clue. Couldn't tell. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. We have no idea because of how bad the audio issues were. That is such a disgrace from Fox. You couldn't fix that 5 hours before the game? We knew about this. You couldn't get this under control? Awful job out of Fox. Very frustrating the whole game. 3 things, 3 very negative things that rode over this game. Field conditions, the controversial holding call, and the audio issues. Terrible job by Fox. Game was great. But those 3 things, really bad.